Now with breaking news, this is Boston 25 News at 5.
And we are following that breaking news right now. There are multiple reports of fires, explosions in Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover. You can see right here from Sky 25, an incredible scene right here. Good evening, I'm Mark Ockenbloom.
And I'm Vanessa Welch. We do know from Twitter that Mass State Police troopers are on scene. They're responding to Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover to assist with security and also to help out with traffic control. These are live pictures from Sky 25, and you can see all the heavy smoke and flames in these shots as well.
And you can see these are big structures, multiple levels as well. Triple deckers in many spots, and this is from pressurized gas lines, we believe. Now, this hasn't been confirmed as yet, but that is what is being reported, is that the pressurized gas lines ignited somehow. And obviously, if it was Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover, you would think that this is a chain reaction type of situation that you're seeing here unfold.
Some reports on Twitter unconfirmed that Columbia Gas was doing some work in this area and that firefighters have asked Columbia Gas to turn off all the gas immediately. So hopefully that has happened right now. But again, live pictures right here from Sky 25. We are working the phones right now, working our sources to find out if anyone has been hurt in this.
Boston 25's Jason Law is standing by as well. Jason, what do you know?
Guys, we're making calls here in our newsroom to get as much information out to you as quickly as possible. I just got off the phone with the North Andover Police Chief, Charles Gray. He answered. I could hear lots of noise in the background. He said, not a good time. Call me back. So obviously this is very, very active, very fluid right now. Here's what we can tell you. We have confirmed through the fire marshal's office that they have several state police, fire, and explosion investigators heading to these three cities and towns here. Let's go to the map and show you where exactly this is happening. The first reports came in just moments ago from Chickering Road. That's in Lawrence. But right now there is smoke rising from several locations around not only Lawrence, but also neighboring Andover and North Andover. They believe that this could be a natural gas explosion, as you guys just mentioned. State police said there are initial reports that this was a natural gas explosion that they're investigating. Again, investigators say they're heading to those locations to handle traffic control and neighborhood security. Right now, first and foremost, are people in those buildings. You have to imagine that those were some pretty big structures you saw there, possibly condominium or apartment complexes there. Are people trapped inside? We just don't know at this point. You're looking live at pictures here from Sky 25, which just got to the scene a few minutes ago. Firefighters there on the sidewalk, and they're just starting to grapple with this and realize the scope of this. And right now, as we said, we're working the phones hard in our newsroom, Vanessa and Mark, to bring you all new information as soon as we get it.
Jason, thank you. And, you know, these buildings are very close together, and so they want to make sure that these fires don't spread. That is going to be a big priority right now, as well as making sure, as Jason mentioned, that no one is in any of these homes. Multiple buildings are on fire right now in this area.
The chairman of the Board of Selectmen in North Andover says they are trying to get everyone out of the town of North Andover. I mean, this is the extent it is. They're trying to evacuate everyone in the town.
And this is unprecedented. That doesn't happen very often. Again, we are hearing that the chairman of the Board of Selectmen in North Andover is trying to evacuate the entire town right now. So if you are watching us and if you live in North Andover, this is a serious, dangerous safety situation. You are being asked to get out of your home right now. And if you smell gas in your home, you need to get out of your house as well.
We talked about the fire and its ability to spread in close proximity with other homes, and you're certainly seeing that here as now two homes have fire. You see fire in the back of the home next to the one that's billowing smoke. And again, this is happening in multiple locations, not only in one town, but in other towns and cities as well. Lawrence, Andover, North Andover. And in North Andover, your chairman now has said, you're chairman of the Board of Selectmen, evacuate North Andover now, immediately. Don't waste time. Don't go back looking for anything. Follow what they're saying. This is a very serious situation. You need to evacuate the town of North Andover right now.
For our viewers who may just be joining us, this all started around 4:45. We started getting calls, and we started hearing the scanners light up in our newsroom that there were multiple fires in Andover, North Andover, and in Lawrence. Again, this is all because of overpressured gas lines, and we believe that Columbia Gas is the gas company in this area. We are trying to get in touch with them as well to get some confirmation of that and to find out if they have shut off the gas completely. But overpressured gas lines, we believe, is the cause of multiple fires at multiple structures in this area.
And again, Mass State Police tweeting a few moments ago that the troopers are responding to these areas of Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover to assist with the scene, the security, the traffic in the area. People obviously coming home from work at 5:10 right now are thinking, I'm just going to go back into North Andover where I live, and that's not the case at all. Businesses in the area, obviously, they're going to have to evacuate as well. Again, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen in North Andover is saying the entire town needs to evacuate immediately, right now. So you want to make sure that you leave the town, do it in an orderly fashion, obviously help your neighbors, check in on any elderly who might be in the area, shut-ins, pets and things like that. If you can take them with you, yes, but you need to evacuate ASAP.
This is a very dangerous situation. Our producer Kate just telling me that the Lawrence police chief just told the Eagle Tribune that he has never seen anything like this in his career. We are dealing with a dangerous situation, overpressured gas lines, multiple gas explosions leading to multiple fires, and you need to evacuate if you live in this area. And if you smell gas, even the hint of gas, definitely get out of your home.
Breaking tonight, explosions ravage the Merrimack Valley.
Oh, massive explosion.
It's a big boom.
Massive explosion.
Entire towns evacuated.
Some of the explosions took place about 2 streets down from where I live.
After gas valves explode.
Can't really calculate it in your mind that this is really all happening.
They simply were stretched too thin, and there were too many fires across the rest of the city for them to get over here and fight this fire. So again, it burned for nearly an hour without any help from fire crews, and this is what's left. Not a whole lot here at 60 Jefferson Street. When we got here around 8:30, fire crews had managed to make it over here. At this point, they were just putting out hot spots, hosing off smoldering hot spots here. With what is left of this house. The first thing I did when we pulled up in front of the home was I looked at the fire trucks, and I saw Deerfield and Durham. These are two towns about an hour north in New Hampshire. These fire crews got the call to come down here to race down to Lawrence around 5:30. And when I talked to those firefighters, they said they actually had trouble getting in. Even fire crews with their lights and sirens blaring, they hit traffic because there were so many other crews and fire trucks coming from communities all throughout Massachusetts and the rest of New England. Talking with one of the guys from Durham, he said that they were in traffic, fire truck traffic, with so many crews coming down. It wasn't easy even for you guys to get down here.
We ended up in a long line of fire apparatus coming up 95 or 495.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, not in my career.
And tonight, 25 Investigates is working to get you answers about what could have possibly caused these explosions and such widespread damage.
Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen has been talking to experts and looking into recent incidents involving this same gas company. Eric?
Mark, Vanessa, Columbia Gas put out a news release just today that it would be doing work in the area, upgrading natural gas lines in some of the very same neighborhoods where these explosions and fires happened this afternoon. Tonight, we've had a chance to review past incidents involving the same gas company. In at least 2 of those cases, investigators found workers involved in accidents that caused injuries and millions of dollars in damages.
Explosions and fires spread across 2 towns and a city Thursday night left behind almost unbelievable destruction. But disasters involving natural gas far from unprecedented in Massachusetts. In 2012, explosions in Springfield injured 17 people and did more than $1 million in damage. A state report determined a technician with the same company, Columbia Gas, punctured a line while investigating a complaint about the smell of natural gas. 25 Investigates reviewed 3 other cases involving Columbia. In 2007, an explosion in Easton injured 7 and resulted in more than $2 million in property damage.
Staying on top of breaking news in the Merrimack Valley, an 18-year-old is dead, at least 25 others hurt after homes catch fire and explode. 3 exploded, at least 60 others caught fire. The homes were spread out across Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover, as you can see on this map behind us.
Now, authorities say it all started and is all tied to an overpressurization of a Columbia gas line that serviced that area. Overnight, crews went door to door, turning off the gas and clearing homes. We begin our team coverage this morning with Boston 25 News anchor Daniel Miller. He's live on Chickering Road. And Daniel, that is where that young man was killed.
Yeah, Gene and Sarah, good morning to you. The DA identifying that teen killed as Lionel Rondon of Lawrence. He was sitting in his SUV in the driveway you see behind me when that explosion happened, causing the chimney on top of the roof of that house to come crashing down on top of the SUV he was sitting inside.
Thursday was supposed to be one of the happiest days of this young man's life. Instead, in an instant, everything changed. I want to show you a picture now of 18-year-old Lionel Rondon. He was 18 years old. This picture was taken on his 18th birthday. Lionel's family tells me he just took his road test for his driver's license yesterday, and he asked his dad to drive him to a friend's house out on Chickering Road here in Lawrence where he could celebrate his new freedom. Lionel was sitting in an SUV in the driveway when that house exploded and the house's chimney landed on top of the vehicle, killing the teenager. Leonel's dad came straight home after dropping off his son, turned on the TV, and then saw what happened.
The father came back home and got to see on the news that the house exploded, and that's how he found out somebody died, but he didn't know it was his son until, I guess, somebody called.
Our team coverage continues now with my colleague Robert Goulson, also here in Lawrence here this afternoon. Robert, I know you've been talking with so many people impacted by this, and we're talking thousands and thousands of people. Robert.
Blair, yeah, the scenarios played out differently for everyone. Some were ordered out of their homes and some were never made it home from work, but it turned into all sorts of challenges the day after.
My wife, she uses insulin. I use high blood pressure medication.
People like Roberto Hernandez are out of their South Lawrence homes with no timeline for when they can go back and no easy access to what they desperately need. Emergency officials are helping people with these predicaments by lining up escorts to get what they absolutely need at home. The Partham Middle School is one of 2 shelters in Lawrence where people could sleep, eat, ask questions, or talk to counselors about the sudden stress in their lives.
That looming cold spell will test the people impacted by the Merrimack Valley explosions.
Many, of course, don't have heat. Boston 25 News reporter Christine McCarthy spoke with residents who say they're tired of not getting any answers from Columbia Gas. Christine?
That's right, and most of the residents I've spoken with today tell me they're eventually able to get a hold of someone from Columbia Gas, but then they're often sent to another person and finally another representative. They say for weeks now they feel like they've been getting the runaround. They haven't been getting answers, so they've been trying to find solutions on their own. In the meantime, they're cold and stressed out.
It's very stressful. Sometimes I end up crying. My kids think I'm crazy.
Rita and Peter Teresi are 90 and 88 years old. They both have medical conditions and don't have heat.
We had to leave the house immediately. We came back to something that has no heat.
After evacuating their North Andover home last month, the Teresis are now staying warm all day by the living room fireplace as they wait for gas to be restored. Their electric is back, but a crew sent by Columbia Gas a few weeks ago hasn't returned.
They said we couldn't use a space heater. We wouldn't get one because our panel wasn't high enough. But they would be back with an electrician. That was September 27th. Never heard another word from them.
This is a Boston 25 Storm Tracker weather alert.
Now at noon, welcome back to our continuing coverage of the nor'easter moving through our area as we speak. Here are live pictures in Quincy. As you can see, the surf just coming right over that seawall as we speak. We've been seeing images like this all morning long. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, and we are in the thick of it now. Let's head on over to Sarah Robleski, who's in the Boston 25 Storm Tracker Weather Center. High tide 45 minutes ago, and winds are still whipping.
The winds are still whipping, waves are still rocking, and people are sending in their pictures. So thank you so much. One report right here saying we're about 6 inches less than the January 4th storm. That is good, but unfortunately, we're going to see worse conditions as we get to the high tide tonight.
Let's head out live to Eric Rasmussen, who is reporting from there, and the wind really whipping out there. Eric.
We are really getting knocked around here in Quincy on Quincy Shore Drive. I want to just take a moment to show you the waves that we're witnessing coming over the seawall here. It really is incredible. We've been out here in this spot for about 90 minutes, and things have certainly intensified. It's gotten a little colder, the wind has gotten stronger, and the rain is really pelting us.
These pictures that we've been seeing all morning, Sarah Robleski, are just incredible. How these roads are turning into rivers and lakes.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to happen. We've been talking about it for days now, saying that the coast was going to get impacted the hardest, and this is just the beginning because we've got more high tide cycles heading our way. And I've been mentioning too, it only takes 12 inches of water to push away a car, 18 inches for an SUV, and 6 inches for a person standing to get knocked down by rushing water. So coastal flooding, that has been our major concern with this nor'easter. Yes, it is going to be windy too, and we're going to really be watching the winds as we go through the afternoon and evening, and the rain and snow, because yeah, it is impacting our area, but I first want to talk about the coastal flooding because we still have that coastal flood warning for our entire East Coast, the Cape and Islands. We have reported moderate flood stage in Boston, and we've seen the pictures out of there. Moderate to major coastal flooding expected as we approach the high tide tonight.
Sarah was talking about the wind gusts and the South Shore specifically, talking they could reach anywhere from 55 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour. We want to check in with Bob Ward, who's there on the South Shore in Marshfield. And Bob, you heard the forecast from Sarah. How's it looking from where you are?
Well, I can tell you the conditions here are pretty bad. We're on Foster Street in Marshfield. I want to show you the seawall right there, and you can see the Atlantic Ocean just sweeping right across the seawall from that position down to we are. Luckily, we have a house right here that's giving us some cover. Otherwise, we'd be getting just pounded, just like this parking lot is right now. Look at those waves.
And this storm certainly living up to its billing. And our chief meteorologist, Kevin Lemanowitz, is now here in the studio with us. And Kevin, you've been tracking this every bit of the way, and you said this storm has so many parts to it. We're now seeing it.
Yeah, and all week long we've been hammering those coastal impacts, Blair. Sure, there's been some snow and heavy snow in western Massachusetts, and snow always grabs people's attention and headlines, but really this one's about the coast more than anything else. You've been outside at all today. You know how windy it is and how hard the rain's been coming down. And temperatures, thanks to those winds off the water, which is 40 to 42 degrees, is keeping the air temperatures in the 40s, even upper 40s on Cape Cod.
Well, the good news is the tide is going out a little bit, so that's better for everybody in this area. High tide was 11:15, so it's been a little more than an hour now. About an hour and 15 minutes. But these homes here that were actually condemned in that storm you were just talking about back on January are getting hit again in this nor'easter. This is an unsafe notice that was slapped up here by Sandwich inspectors. This is dated January 5th, the day after that nor'easter came through. So these homes sustained pretty significant structural damage, and they're getting hammered again with high tide, and it's just the first of many. We were actually shielded by the wind behind that house, but we're going to step out and just show you how severe conditions are out here. I mean, the winds have really picked up since we first did a live report with you around 11:30. But again, the good news is the waves only occasionally now coming past these homes. They were smashing into these houses for a good hour and a half. We watched it, and a lot of the sand and debris knocking into these homes. You can see this patio here was washed away 2 months ago, hasn't been fixed. The shingles here ripped off in that January storm, again, hasn't been fixed. Nobody living here. The homeowner's still here, though, and still trying to salvage his property because yesterday he delivered tons, literally tons of sand, and put them in front of his two properties here to try and, as a last-ditch effort, to try and protect his homes from these waves. But, you know, I don't know if it made a difference at all. You can't even see those piles of sand. They've literally just been washed away here in the tide.
Boston 25 News has learned a convicted child rapist who's believed to have attacked as many as 100 children is going to be released. Wayne Chapman has also been long suspected in the 1976 disappearance of a 10-year-old Lawrence boy, a case we profiled on New England's Unsolved. Boston 25 News reporter Ted Daniel is in our control room. And Ted, the state no longer considers Chapman criminally dangerous.
Mark, an official with the Department of Correction tells me Wayne Chapman was recently evaluated by qualified mental health examiners, and those examiners ruled that he's no longer a threat to children. Unlike Chapman's past bids for freedom, it doesn't even appear there was a hearing this time, and the families of Chapman's victims were notified just today that he could be out as soon as tomorrow.
There are dozens horrified to hear that Wayne Chapman is going free. Melanie Perkins is one.
Suddenly he's no longer sexually dangerous simply by virtue of what? That he's older? That doesn't make any sense.
Perkins was childhood friends with Andy Puglisi. In 1976, Andy disappeared from a Lawrence swimming pool. Chapman has long been suspected in the case, but never charged.
My heart breaks for his family and for all of the victims of Wayne Chapman, because there are many. And so children in Providence who were raped by him, children in Massachusetts who were raped by him.
Chapman has been fighting for his release since 2004, when he finished a decades-long prison sentence for raping 2 Lawrence boys. During a 2016 hearing, a forensic psychologist testified that Chapman believed that little boys wanted to have sex with him.
The fact that in December of 2014, a little over a year ago, he was still saying that he saw these children as willing participants in the assaults seemed to us quite a severe cognitive distortion.
Melanie Perkins wants to know why the same system that worked so hard to keep Chapman locked up has now decided to let him go free.
Chapman is a serial pedophile and very likely a serial child murderer who will hurt and harm children again.
For the last year, Eric and our team of journalists, they discovered states, including Massachusetts, closed the cases of missing foster kids while they were still unaccounted for.
Mark Vanessa, 25 Investigates, teamed up with sister station WSB in Atlanta and found thousands of foster kids across the country among the missing and forgotten. For years, Massachusetts DCF has been telling the feds it hasn't closed a single case of a foster kid who's missing, but our investigation found otherwise.
In the summer, we might go out and meet like 20, 30, 40 people in just one day.
Amid the fast pace and prosperity of downtown Boston.
Do you feel like the system let you down?
Yes, very much.
25 Investigates found kids once in the state's care, now on the street.
When I was 14, they just gave me up to DCF because they couldn't handle me.
We met 19-year-old Joanna on the Boston Common, a former foster kid. She says she ran away from a group home right before a suicide attempt landed her in the hospital last year.
Did anybody ever track you down and say, Joanna, you gotta come back?
No. They did not care. I've never gotten an email from my counselor, my DCF worker.
Joanna says she was missing from the group home less than 2 weeks.
So it was like, look, I really need help. And when I went in, she said, your case is closed.
What was going through your mind when they said they closed your case?
I knew right then I was screwed.
DCF wouldn't comment on Joanna's case, but says it can close any child's case once they turn 18, even if they're missing. Since the year 2000, federal records show child welfare agencies across the country closed the cases of more than 53,000 foster kids listed as runaways, and at least another 61,000 missing. But over the last decade, the same federal data shows Massachusetts and a few other states reported closing 0 cases of foster kids labeled missing or runaway. Researchers, child advocates, and Joanna's own experience suggest those numbers are misleading.
Does that make you mad?
It makes me really upset. And policy, what's our policy? What are they doing?
Elizabeth Jackson is the executive director of Bridge Over Troubled Waters in Boston. She says many of the homeless kids helped by her nonprofit come from foster care, and she's calling out the system.
And there are kids out here. And so if you feel like I'm pointing a finger at you, so be it. Come to the table and let's figure it out, because we are seeing kids, and I know you know that we are seeing kids.
Massachusetts DCF reports it unloads more than 800 foster children from the system every year when they turn 18. But the agency told us it does not track how many of those kids were missing at the time they were discharged.
In a year-long nationwide investigation, Boston 25 News and our Atlanta sister station, WSB, contacted all 50 states. We uncovered a patchwork of policies, with some able to close a case after a foster child is missing for just a few months, while others must wait until they turn 21.
Records show the state of Illinois discharged a missing foster child in 2016 who was just 9 years old. The state now tells us it took the child back into custody a year later. Jackson says no one was looking for a 15-year-old girl missing from foster care in New York when she walked into this office in Boston saying she'd been abandoned by a boyfriend.
What do you really think was happening in that situation?
Oh, she was trafficked. She was being put in a prostitution ring, and she didn't even know it.
An unidentified teenage girl shot dead in Atlanta last year turned out to be a missing foster child. When the victim's brother finally saw this facial reconstruction by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, she was identified as 17-year-old Danetta Franks.
It just sucks to know that she was speaking out, crying out for help, but she never got it.
A new federal law now requires all states to report missing foster kids to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children here in the Washington, D.C. area. But even now, the center tells us that's not always happening.
There are agencies out there that have been known to close these cases, and then therefore no one's looking.
Bob Lowry is vice president of the National Center's Missing Children's Division.
We can do better at this, can't we?
I think the answer to that is yes, we can do better.
Brittany Hill is part of that effort.
But yeah, I walked like 9 miles in one day.
We followed her on foot in Boston.
My name is Brittany. I'm actually an outreach worker with Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
Trying to find kids at risk.
I can actually just pass a card to you. You don't have to give me any information. We can at least get you hooked up with a counselor to do an intake.
We witnessed one breakthrough on this day when a homeless teen asked for help.
It's great. That's what we want out here.
Well, there's a chance he'll have somewhere to stay tonight because of you.
Yeah.
Joanna says she's been living on the street too ever since the day the state closed her case.
And I just broke down and just left and been homeless for the last 11 months.
Now an adult, no longer missing, but still feeling forgotten.
Looking back on the situations, it really kills me.
One Boston day, and it's a chance for everyone really to get involved, to help out, to volunteer, to take part in acts of kindness, acts of good. And we're seeing that throughout. We're here at the blood drive, the Boston Strong Blood Drive. So many people have come through the door and donated the gift of life.
And several of our viewers actually came up to us and said they just felt like they had to do something to mark the 5th anniversary of the marathon bombings, and that they wanted to come and give the gift of life. We learned today that if you donate, when you donate, the amount of blood that you're getting can actually save 3 lives, and that is just incredible. That just hit me and made me want to donate even more. So I donated. Oct is just wrapping up his donation now, and just an incredible way to give back and to serve our community. And so many people came through today and said that they felt good. They felt good that they were doing something to help the city of Boston today.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Weymouth as we zip trip here on our second week of zip trips here. Coming down here to the South Shore this week. We got a great crowd that's turned out. We got a lot of fun coming up over the next couple of hours. Michelle Escano is here with us as well to take us around the town of Weymouth. So we're excited about everything we got lined up for you today.
We are. We have already met so many people, and we have so many more people to meet. We're going to eat a lot. We're going to dance a lot, and that's what it's all about.
I'm excited. I didn't know we were dancing.
Dancing.
Cool bands.
I didn't see that in the rundown, but all right.
I wanted to say that Weymouth holds a very special place in my heart. Both of my boys were born here in Weymouth over at South Shore Hospital.
Nice.
And Gene, do you know how many babies they deliver over there per year? How many?
I counted them. I went in every day. 3,400 a year.
Very good. And they do a great job over there at South Shore.
And they have something like 97,000 visits to the ER over there. It's a very busy place and crucial to the community and everybody down here on the South Shore. Before we start talking about the history here in the town of Weymouth, we're going to talk about these guys. This is Aiden here. Look at the size of that trophy. It's as big as he is. These guys are the Weymouth Street Hockey grade 4, 5, and 6 division champs. Aiden, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Is that trophy heavy? It looks as it is as big as you are.
No, it's not heavy.
We know what the Stanley Cup guys drink out of the Stanley Cup. What are you guys drinking out of this?
Beer.
Beer? Come on, you're too young for that.
It is my pleasure now to honor the hometown hero this morning, Frank Burke. He is a retired vet and an amazing man in so many ways, both for his resume and also your resemblance to someone that might live in the North Pole.
Yeah, I've been told that.
No, but seriously, Frank, it's really incredible all that you've done, not only in Weymouth for your community, but in your lifetime. And I was just looking at your resume, serving in the Air Force in 1966, director of Weymouth Veterans Council, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. The list goes on and on. What is the thing that makes you most proud of all that you've done?
I'd say the Vietnam Memorial. It's a labor of love.
Joined now by 4 veterans, and we appreciate your service to our country, gentlemen. I guess my question to each of you would be, what worked for you to get you to this moment where you could be with me tonight?
When I came back, I drank a lot. Honestly, one of my family members, my mother and my brother, both grabbed me and was like, look, you got to knock this stuff off. Because you're going to force yourself into an early grave. Like, I had to accept the fact that I was not home. I call it the war after the war, and it's always plagued the way that I was, and it just took me baby steps.
Overseas, you're going on missions, you go on ops, you get a lot of adrenaline going. I come home and I knew there's a looming deployment in the future. I just lived for that adrenaline.
You know, I want to get back to work, be a fireman again, and, you know, get back with my crew and my guys.
For many firefighters and their families, it's a painful journey, which at times has little hope. We've reported on the tragic number of firefighters here in Boston who've died because of cancer. But we wanted to tell this story in a way that's more than just shocking numbers. For months, we have followed that journey for one local family. and have witnessed their uncomfortable reality.
The reality of the gang problem in El Salvador was most apparent in our last stop of the trip to one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. Gang members deported for crimes here in New England often end up in prisons like this. After walking through those halls, I could easily understand why so many gang members would do anything to avoid going back to El Salvador.
This is our police escort for the day. Alert, finger on the trigger, scanning for anything that moves. We're heading out into the Salvadoran countryside to a gang prison.
Damn, what a place for a prison.
We cram into a small office for a briefing with the commander and general director of the prison system.
Most of the people you'll see here are from Barrio 18. En donde hay sujetos bastante peligrosos. Many of them are extremely dangerous.
Barrio 18, or the 18th Street Gang. The prisons in El Salvador are divided by gangs for the safety of the inmates and the guards.
They have blockers outside, and they'll carry maybe about 2 miles.
We learned that all cell phone signals have been blocked because assassinations against police officers and judges were being ordered from inside of these walls. Even people who live near the prison can't make calls.
As you're walking around the jail, you'll see nothing but faces covered here. Why? Because they're worried for their own protection.
Our tour starts with a newer part of the prison. It's under construction to make room for the overcrowded jail.
All right, so we're actually going into an area where there's tuberculosis. You can see all of us here are required to wear masks, so we're about to go inside right now.
We're led into an area where people are packed into small cells. The conditions are medieval.
How many of them are allowed in here at a time?
No, they're just coming in.
Okay.
They're new.
This is how deported criminals from the U.S. are welcomed back into El Salvador.
Anybody speak English?
Yes.
Anybody speak English?
There is a small commotion, and Dennis Pena appears.
You know, where are you coming from?
From New York.
Where in New York?
Bronx.
Why are you here?
I'm here in El Salvador, got deported.
What is it like in here now?
It's El Salvador, it's a third world country. I mean, I can't really explain, you know.
For a prison that is supposed to hold 500, there are over 1,800 men crammed inside here.
It's hot, we don't got water.
The stench of human waste is strong. Hundreds of men forced to live inside of one cell. David says he has family in Los Angeles.
How old were you when you joined?
13 years.
Many of these men were recruited as teenagers, some in El Salvador and some on the streets of America.
Why so young?
Sometimes it's just because our fathers and the social instability that we have in our communities.
Because of the assassination plots, this prison has been on lockdown for almost a year. We're told the inmates are allowed outside of the cell only 3 times a week for 1 hour. This is where they hold the 156 women inmates who all have affiliations with the 18th Street. Patricia says she misses her family. She's in here for extortion and murder.
I have no contact with my family. I miss them, and I got a conviction of 100 years.
My mind hasn't comprehended what I just saw.
The entire experience has the Boston local law enforcement officials we traveled to El Salvador with struggling to find words.
Yeah, when I went to Cabo Verde, I thought it was bad. This is the worst I've ever seen.
They provide methadone and other medication to our patients.
And how many patients are we talking?
We have 1,200 people every day.
Back now to Lisbon, Portugal, with Boston 25 News anchor Blair Miller.
When we arrived here in Portugal, we wanted to see what's making the difference to keep people from dying from opioids. We wanted to see it in action. And in many ways, what we saw was both eye-opening and dramatic. Here on these streets, there are the countless and heartbreaking stories. But in the end, most are stories of survival. Rue Colte started using heroin at almost an unbelievable time in his life.
13.
Since 13? Yeah. He says he had just turned 13 and was offered heroin at school. It evolved to smoking heroin after injuring his leg. He says he's been addicted ever since.
Tired, yeah. I'm tired to the drugs.
But then something changed, and Ruse sought help through one of Portugal's government treatment programs. For him, this has been the answer. A methadone van that offers a substitute to heroin.
What does it feel like to take the methadone?
Feel like the
feeling, yeah.
Physical?
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Methadone is a medication often used to help people withdraw from using heroin. Rue's been coming here every day for the past 10 years.
If you didn't have that van or going to this every day,
I'm drugged today.
You'd be on the drug today?
Yeah.
He now has a steady job and says he hasn't touched heroin in years. These vans are scattered around Portugal in neighborhoods where the demand is high. We jumped on board to ride with this crew of nurses and program workers. As the van pulled in under this overpass to administer methadone, people were waiting for it to get their fix, a liquid dose of methadone.
In the right dosage, they can feel as normal as me.
Hugo Faria is one of the coordinators who helps with the methadone van program, one of two servicing various spots of Lisbon, 1,200 people every single day. We found people come here with all types of backgrounds, not just the homeless. Most walk, others drive, some walk up during their lunch breaks. We even saw a few driving company vehicles and quickly pulling over to get their treatment.
When that van pulled up, there were a bunch of people here already waiting.
Yes.
Is that indicative of the demand?
For some of the patients, there's a routine. They come, they want to take the methadone, and then they want to go.
Each patient who comes up to this van is in and out in just 45 seconds. Every single day at this one spot, about 300 people show up. Here's how it works. They walk up to this window, they give their ID number, they're then given their dosage, and then they're off.
Some Americans who see this might think it's pretty wild.
Well, I don't know, yes, maybe, but...
It works.
Yes.
Cue the duck boats, cue the confetti. Manny Del Carmen, 2007 world champ. What is going through these players' minds right now?
Dude, I mean, this is bringing back so many memories. I feel like I wish I was on that duck boat with them.
This is truly like a moment, a special moment for this city. And judging by the size of this crowd, it does not get old. We say this all the time. Red Sox Nation loves a party.
Honk for Gronk! Honk for Gronk! Honk for Gronk!
That was a honk.
Are you brave enough to head into the heart of Eagles country wearing a Patriots jersey? It takes a few brave souls to do it, and they both happen to work here. We sent our reporter Robert Goulston and photographer Tom Korsak behind enemy lines, armed with only their gear and a box of Boston cream donuts from Dunks.
Yeah, it comes as no surprise they're greeted by a lot of trash talking.
We gonna win this. Brady, you going down.
Usually, Philadelphia rolls out the brotherly love.
This Philly, you gotta take that shirt off.
Unless you walk down the street decked out in Pat's gear.
Do you guys have lobster rolls? Honk for Gronk. Clam roll.
This is our turn. The dynasty starts now.
I see you have an Eagles hat on. Did you lose a bet?
No.
Can I give you a Boston cream donut?
No, thank you.
They're from North Attleboro.
No.
What are your thoughts about Boston baked beans? These go really good with Fenway Franks.
I understand what you're doing there.
How are you, sir?
Good.
We come in peace from Patriots Nation.
I doubt that.
Our Boston cream donuts won over some.
Let's go Patriots!
But most were just like all of the other Patriots haters.
There might be videotapes in there, maybe some microphones. I don't know the playbook.
Hey, can we play a little game with you?
Wait.
I'll pick the quarter and you tell us how much you'll be down by.
Okay.
Turn right on Brady Street. Even at 12 Brady Street in Philly, nobody was talking.
We're looking for the GOAT, 12 Brady Street.
Black Angus, folks. Black Angus, top of the line.
How are you guys? Do you have a place we could hang this?
Photojournalist Tom Korsak even worked his sources trying to get some insight.
It's time to move over, Brady. Let the Eagles come on.
Everybody's favorite color here is green.
Of course. We're from Philly. We're like the best fans that any team could ask for.
Well, what do you think of me being down here with a Gronk shirt on?
I think you're crazy.
I've heard that. But like all championship cities, you got to put it all on the line. And just for the record, of course, we really do love Philly, even though we have a better football team. In Philadelphia, Robert Goulston with photojournalist Tom Korzak, Boston 25 News.
Now with breaking news. This is Boston 25 News at 6.
Now on Boston 25.
To declare a state of emergency.
After gas-fueled fires and explosions.
It looked like Armageddon.
Left a city smoldering, entire towns evacuated.
It just looked like an absolute war zone.
Tonight, the horror and the heartbreak.
He just got his license yesterday. The family is broken apart.
The heroic actions.
Just started running around, shutting off meters.
And the demand for answers.
The least informed and the last to act has been Columbia Gas.
One day after the Merrimack Valley tragedy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Ockerblum.
And I'm Vanessa Welch. Tonight, we are learning more about the 18-year-old victim. Loved ones tell us that Lionel Rondon was fun-loving and deeply passionate about his friends and family. We will have more on how Leo is being remembered in just a few minutes.
But first, still a lot of questions surrounding this investigation at this hour. Columbia Gas has apologized, but only after Governor Charlie Baker declared a state of emergency and put Eversource in charge of fixing the mess. Right now, inspections are underway in Lawrence and over in North Andover. Crews are going door to door to more than 8,000 homes, trying to determine when it's safe for people to return. At least 25 others were hurt in these deadly explosions and fires. The hospital says those injuries range from minor to critical. And one leader saying he was stunned there were not more casualties.
Our team of reporters has been spread out throughout the Merrimack Valley today, covering every angle of this tragedy. We begin tonight with anchor Blair Miller at the command center. And Blair, you just got an update from investigators.
Yes, Ak and Vanessa, we've been getting updates all afternoon here at the command center. I'm just getting one from the NTSB. I want to go ahead and read this to you. NTSB, of course, the agency that will handle this investigation, they're saying that they are gathering perishable evidence from the accident site and gathering information from other federal, state, and local agencies and Columbia Gas. They go on to say among the issues being examined right now in their investigation are the design of the pipeline system, any upgrades made to the system, and the operator's management of that pipeline. This, of course, happening after an afternoon where government leaders said enough is enough.
We weren't expecting them to hit it out of the park, but we sure did want them to swing the bat.
The mayor of Lawrence not holding back when it came to his utter disappointment with Columbia Gas Company's response to Thursday's deadly explosions.
The least informed and the last to act.
Mayor Dan Rivera saying the company wasted time getting crews on the ground.
They're hiding from the problem.
The mayor calling on Columbia Gas to step up, and the company responded, apologizing in front of the media.
We are sorry. We're sorry and deeply concerned about the inconvenience. This is the sort of thing that a gas distribution company hopes never happens.
Columbia saying it's too soon to say what went wrong, but no employees have been sanctioned. Governor Charlie Baker pushing ahead.
We've made a decision to declare a state of emergency.
The Commonwealth effectively putting its faith in another utility company instead.
And Eversource is going to be in charge of this project from this point forward.
And this has impacted so many people here in the Merrimack Valley region. Thousands and thousands of people evacuated, at least 25 people hurt, civilians and firefighters, and finally, one man dead, an 18-year-old here from Lawrence. Boston 25 News reporter Bob Ward continues our team coverage now, joining me live in Lawrence. And Bob, I know you spoke with people who knew this young man.
You know, Blair, just yesterday afternoon, everything was going great for this young man. He just got his driver's license. He was hanging out with his friends. It was looking like it was going to be a great night. And then, in a split second, everything changed forever. This is Lionel Rondon on the day he turned 18 years old. Lionel was just starting his junior year at Phoenix Lawrence Academy, where he loved studying science, math, and biology. Now, at Lionel's house, mourners gather to console his grief-stricken parents, among them former Lawrence Mayor William Lantigua.
The father is holding on
very sad, but he's a little bit more stronger than the mom. The mom is devastated.
Lionel was killed when a gas explosion destroyed this house on Chickering Road in Lawrence.
The family is broken apart. His mother is just, crying, and she's going through a tough time.
Luis Medina is a close family friend. As current Lawrence Mayor Dan Rivera pays his respects to the family, Luis explains that Lionel was at the Chickering Road house because he wanted to celebrate with friends the fact that he just got his driver's license. Lionel was sitting in an SUV when the house's chimney crashed onto the roof of the vehicle. Not long before, Lionel's father dropped his son off at the house.
His father just told me that he did drop off his son at that home, and he saw at the news that a house exploded and a chimney was dropped on top of someone and somebody died, and then to realize that that was his son, it's sad.
This afternoon, Lawrence Public School Department issuing this statement. Lionel was an outgoing, lighthearted, hands-on learner who particularly loved science and excelled in biology and math. He'll be greatly missed both in school and at home, and his family, friends, and loved ones are in the thoughts of everyone throughout the Phoenix Network and Lawrence Public Schools. Also this afternoon, the family established a GoFundMe account. If you'd like to get information on that, head over to our website, boston25.com, and that's where you can see we'd be able to help out this family. A very, very difficult night here in Lawrence. Blair?
Bob, difficult indeed. A family grieving and a community now grieving. Thanks, Bob Ward, joining me live here in Lawrence. Tonight, there is also a lot of frustration and questions about Columbia Gas. Many want to know how this happened and who exactly is responsible. Our team coverage continues now with Boston 25 News reporter Ted Daniel joining me live from North Andover with that part of the story. Ted?
Blair, this is a crisis situation, and people understandably have a lot of questions. The most important right now is how long is it going to take until I get back into my home, and what, if any, precautions need to be taken when I get back in? Those are logical questions. Since Columbia Gas's 800 number wasn't working today, residents say they just got voicemail. A lot of people showed up here to meet with their reps for a meeting earlier today. Well, the Columbia Gas reps were not only late, but that meeting, it didn't go so well. One of several North Andover homes damaged by fire on a day that put everyone to the test.
We are inundated with phone calls at this time and multiple fires all over town.
A new challenge now, getting information.
Where I live is not cleared, but streets around me are. Why is that? Is there a line that is causing that?
I'm sorry, but I can't answer that question.
We have other folks on our street that are running generators, and that it's a little bit of a concern. Can you speak to that? Is that a problem?
I'm sorry, I can't speak to that.
The three representatives Columbia Gas sent were short on answers.
Let me take these questions back, okay?
After taking everyone's contact info, the team made a quick exit.
Hey, guys, Columbia Gas guys, you guys keep walking away, but we can't walk away from the situation.
If you're going to operate a gas company in the state of Massachusetts, you have certain obligations to the public. One of them is that if there's an incident, that you give the people some direction.
Sir, do you at least understand their frustration? Do you folks understand their frustration? Do you feel like this was an effective meeting this morning? Columbia crews in the field face a different type of challenge. Every single home requires an inspection before residents like Ron Clark can be allowed back in.
If they think everything's okay and they can relight my pilots, then hopefully everything's back to normal.
I also spoke with the town manager here in North Andover. He says even if you're allowed back into your home, do not try to restart your gas service on your own. The crews will take care of that for you. They are making the rounds right now. Columbia Gas says they hope by Sunday that everyone will be restored and back in, but that situation is still fluid and certainly an unknown. Reporting live in North Andover, I'm Ted Daniel, Boston 25 News.
Ted, thanks so much. A lot of people questioning that timeline. Thank you for that report. And as you can see, a lot of people are frustrated because this has impacted thousands and thousands of people. It still is impacting so many people who've been evacuated and can't go home. Boston 25 News reporter Robert Golston has been speaking with a lot of the people who've been impacted directly by all this. He joins me live here in Lawrence with more on that. Robert?
Blair, the scenarios played out differently for each family. Some were ordered out of their homes. Some couldn't get to their homes after work. It caused all sorts of problems the day after.
I need my heart medicine and my insulin. I haven't had it since yesterday morning.
Paula Schenk posted herself outside the Partham Middle School shelter in Lawrence, trying to line up a way to get her medicine.
I've been all day trying to do this because I couldn't find this place at first.
Red Cross is running 2 shelters in Lawrence where they have already helped hundreds.
Hot food, we're providing with snacks, water, coffee, providing with a place to sleep. We have our mental health teams working with talking to people.
It's hard. You have to pick up everything and just do with what you've got.
Lawrence General Hospital helped more than a dozen people right after the fires. 13 were treated. 1 was flown to Boston, and we learned today he was the young man who did not survive. The head of EMS says the number of injuries could have been considerably higher based on the amount of damage.
And I could speculate that it was time of day. Maybe people weren't home from work yet. But a lot of it was just pure luck. We were very lucky.
The Perez family stopped into the shelter for lunch.
Pasta and then some apples, sandwiches and tomatoes.
And are now dealing with all of the unknowns thrown at them.
Kids, they get impacted, they get very emotional. But thank God I found a way to calm them down and try to explain to them that this thing happened, unfortunately.
A tough 24 hours for these families. And between the 2 evacuation shelters here in Lawrence alone, more than 200 people spent the night. The Red Cross says they will keep the shelters open as long as need be. We are live in Lawrence. Robert Goulston, Boston 25 News.
Robert, thanks. People, of course, very concerned. Lawmakers also very concerned here tonight. Both Senators Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren were out here earlier today. I spoke with both of them, interviewing both of them. Senator Markey is already calling for congressional hearings on Columbia Gas to look into this. Those investigations likely will come, but people right now just want to know that their town is safe. Aka, Vanessa?
As mentioned, Blair, local leaders have been touring the damage in Lawrence. Today, earlier, we spotted Governor Charlie Baker and Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey near the house that exploded on Chickering Road. And this is the scene where 18-year-old Lionel Rondon was killed when part of the home's chimney landed on his SUV.
The American Red Cross has 4 shelters open for families who cannot return to their homes tonight. You can see the location of those shelters on this map. In Lawrence, you can go to Arlington Middle School, that's on Arlington Street, and Partham Elementary on East Haverhill Street, where we just saw our Robert Goulston. And in Andover, there's a shelter at the Cormier Youth Center on Whittier Court. And in North Andover, residents can go to the high school, that's on Osgood Street. There are a lot of different ways that you can help the people impacted by this tragedy. The city of Lawrence is asking for things like hand sanitizer, alcohol pads, socks, underwear for kids and adults, blankets, toiletries, feminine products, toilet paper, and towels. And you can drop those items off at the Senior Center at 155 Haverhill Street in Lawrence.
Our coverage of the tragedy in the Merrimack Valley is just ramping up. We are expecting an update in the next half hour from Eversource, and that should take place about 6:30. We'll bring it to you live when it happens. Also at 6:30, how state police used infrared technology to pinpoint a gas leak in the midst of the chaos that could have prevented further crisis. Also, at the half hour, how local businesses left in the dark are coping. And at 6:45, 25 Investigates uncovers new documents detailing a history of problems with Columbia Gas. And keep up with the latest developments on Boston25News.com. Our web team has a live blog with up-to-the-minute information. You can also find an updated list of street closures. Plus,
by now, maybe you've seen the video of an off-duty Lawrence firefighter running house to house, shutting off his neighbor's gas. Coming up, the number of homes he was able to reach and the tool that helped him get the job done.
What's happening with Florence, how it'll impact our weather this weekend and early next week, plus a look at our weekend forecast in general coming up.
Breaking right now, state police say 2 people have been arrested after a pair of high-speed chases in southeastern Massachusetts. This is video from Attleboro where one of the chases ended. Troopers tell us they pursued 2 suspects wanted for robberies in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. One suspect was captured. The second escaped after the first chase, stole a car, and led troopers on a second chase before eventually being captured.
tonight, another state trooper has pleaded guilty in the ongoing overtime pay investigation. Kevin Sweeney of Braintree admitted to being paid more than $5,900 for overtime hours He never worked. He is one of 6 troopers charged in this investigation and is the second to plead guilty. Sweeney will be sentenced in December and faces up to 30 years in prison on federal charges of embezzlement and wire fraud. A grand jury has indicted the man charged with trying to kidnap and sexually assault a woman who was on a run in Bridgewater. This afternoon, Gordon Lyons was indicted on charges including kidnapping, indecent assault, and reckless operation. Police say he tried to abduct the woman in June as she was running on Pleasant Street. It was caught on surveillance video.
And there's more breaking news tonight. The Plymouth County DA's office just confirmed to Boston 25 News a 16-year-old boy was shot and killed in Brockton overnight. Police received a shot spotter notification around 12:45 this morning for a shot fired in the area of Intravale Street. Officers did not find any evidence, but about 30 minutes later, police got a call from Brockton Hospital saying that a person that had been dropped off at the emergency room with a gunshot wound had died. We are keeping tabs on a large fire in Lexington. Sky 25 was over the scene on Wheeler Road just after 4 o'clock this afternoon. There was a large amount of smoke and flames coming through the roof. Again, this fire is happening in Lexington. It is not in one of the towns impacted by the gas crisis in the Merrimack Valley.
Back to our coverage of the Merrimack Valley tragedy. We've been following this home on Jefferson Street since it first caught fire. Last night, firefighters could only keep the fire from spreading while the home pretty much burned to the ground. Today, we flew our drone over the damage, and this is what is left. This was a police officer's home, and coming up at 6:30, we'll hear from a neighbor about how that officer helped others while his home was on fire.
And one of the few bright spots out of this tragedy, an off-duty firefighter going above and beyond the call of duty. Our cameras were rolling last night as Lieutenant Dave Amaro went house to house, shutting off his neighbor's gas. And that clip has been viewed by nearly 500,000 people on our Facebook page.
Boston 25 News reporter Jason Law met the man who says he was just doing the right thing.
That video, recorded by a Boston 25 News photographer, touched a lot of people after it was posted on social media. It showed an off-duty fire lieutenant running through his own neighborhood, helping out whoever he could. He told me he first realized there was a problem when his wife came to him and said their house reeked of gas. Boston 25 News photojournalist Adam Libatori recorded Fire Lieutenant Dave Amaro racing through his own neighborhood, turning off everybody's gas.
It was all I could do at the time.
Moments earlier, Amaro said he heard the explosion that leveled a house on Chickering Road. He soon found out the problem was so much worse.
Once I called the fire in, and they said that they had 10 fires going on at once, and I'm like, you know, blown away. I'm like, I had no idea what was going on.
Armed with only that wrench and a roll of tape to mark the houses he turned off, Amaro worked door to door for about 90 minutes. He estimates he was able to get to 50 or 60 homes. Were you scared at any point?
Wasn't really scared. It was just it was awkward. I never experienced anything like it.
You know, you look up to a guy like that.
Patrick Sweeney is one of many firefighters who gave Amaro a well-deserved pat on the back.
What Dave did, I think, was above and above the call of duty. I mean, just acted right away.
And since that video posted, Amaro says he's been getting a lot of messages, too. Do you see why that touched people, though? That kind of the bright spot, just an off-duty firefighter doing that?
I do, and I know that there was other firefighters in other neighborhoods doing the same thing.
Lieutenant Amaro and his family are among the thousands in South Lawrence unable to return to their homes. He says when he's not working, he's staying with relatives up in Salem, New Hampshire. In Lawrence, Jason Law, Boston 25 News.
What a great guy, and you got to think he probably prevented many more fires.
Yeah, hats off to him. Great job. Just jumped right into action, didn't wait. And off duty? Yeah. No, always on duty, right?
That's right.
Great job.
All right, we're watching this storm in the south, too. This is a tropical storm now. Still Florence, and I still have to change from hurricane. It was Hurricane Florence when it came into Wilmington, North Carolina, 7:15 this morning, and this tropical storm continues to dump boatloads of rain over this area. News Forest, 12.5 inches of rain. This is just since midnight. It had been raining for a few hours before that, too, so you can add a couple of more inches on top of this to any of these spots. New Bern at 12 inches, Harlow over 13, Oak Island nearing 13 inches. Look at some of these totals, and we're just getting going. The rain will continue to fall from this tropical storm through the weekend. The rain shield will just shift west and perhaps a little bit south as it continues on its way. 70-mile-per-hour sustained winds. That's tropical storm strength, 74 plus. Makes you hurricanes are just barely not a hurricane anymore, but only moving at 3 miles per hour. So crawling along, and that's why the rain can keep coming down hard over the same areas continuously and cause that flooding. It's going to come through North Carolina through Sunday and then make its way northward and out of there, spinning some rain up our way early next week. Not so much wind, but a good dousing of rain for sure. Maybe even be some localized flooding to contend with for us, just not this kind of rain. You're going to see 10 to 30 inches over a wide area in this brighter yellow here in North and South Carolina through the weekend. It's going to cause catastrophic flooding in some spots. Yes, even with just a tropical storm. 69 at Logan Airport, 75, by the way, at Fenway Park. Just checked it. Temperatures are in the 70s, basically. Dew points mostly in the 60s. Fenway will be 72 at first pitch, an easterly wind at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and a mild night at Fenway Park. Tomorrow, 80 in Brockton, 77 in Plymouth, 80s off to the north and west. Some nice looking stuff to start your weekend. Won't be perfectly blue sky. There'll be some clouds to contend with as well. Oktoberfest at Idle Hands in Malden Saturday afternoon. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s for this event. 74 about for a high temperature. You're closer to the water after all. So a real pleasant day for that. Sunday, temperatures climb even higher. Into the 80s on Sunday. That doesn't mean the humidity is going up. It is not on Sunday. That'll start to climb on Monday ahead of the tropical air that's coming our way, and you're going to see that on our 7-day forecast. On Sunday, 82, and Monday, 82. The difference is the humidity on Monday. Monday comes with more clouds, too, and then the heavy rain arrives. Whatever's left from Florence comes on Tuesday, and I do expect it will be some heavy rain. So let's look at that weekend in more detail. If going southeastward to the Cape, still have your eyes on Cape Cod and the Iowans for a weekend getaway. How about 70s with some sunshine mixing with clouds? If you're going northward, it'll be in the 70s up into the mountains, too. Cranmore, 78 degrees both days. And over at Laconia in the Lakes region, 80 and 82 degrees this weekend. And at the beaches of Maine, temperatures will be in the 70s as well. It's actually been a few degrees warmer there today than it has been in southern New England. So the weekend looking good. Weekend's always in view, but it's the rain that's coming on Tuesday that will be associated with Florence, a storm that we'll be watching tonight and monitoring that flooding situation for you in the Carolinas through the weekend.
Yep. High school game day in the Merrimack Valley tonight. The Rangers of Methuen welcome in the Red Men from Tewksbury. Coming up, we'll tell you what these schools are doing to help the families affected by the gas explosions up here.
High school game day tonight takes us to Methuen, right in the heart, of course, of the Merrimack Valley.
Methuen and Tewksbury are playing tonight, but the teams are also hoping to help the community hit hard by those fires and explosions. Butch Stearns is live in Methuen tonight to show us how they're doing it. Butch?
Yeah, we are right in the heart of the Merrimack Valley, guys, and there's a good vibe for this game tonight, not only because these two teams know each other and it's going to be a great football game, but because what they're doing to help out their communities. They're rallying to do their parts, asking fans to donate perishables tonight for the families that have been affected by the gas explosions here in the Merrimack Valley in their neighboring towns of Andover, North Andover, and Lawrence. These schools are proud to help out.
Listen, we're competitive as heck on the football field in the Merrimack Valley. We love our sports, but this is real life stuff. And I think obviously the administration came together and realized that we need to help each other out. So we got some donation baskets. We've had a number of emails and Facebook posts and different things that tell needs, baby wipes and things of that nature that can go to some of those communities as they're working through this event.
I think, we all value making an impact. I mean, it's great to be a student athlete, but, what can you do for your community? And seeing a girl from our golf team show up here, drop a huge bag off and leave, I mean, that's it. That's what it's about.
Proud to say a lot of the kids in school were talking about what can we do to help. And, like our National Honor Society has already made the commitment to try to do something like that in Tewksbury to try to help any way they can. So, our kids are pretty civic-minded and we're willing to help in whatever way we can.
Great storylines in this game tonight, and that's one of them, of course. We'll have it all covered for you tonight on the Boston 25 News at 11 and then on Facebook Live at 11:35. For now, for High School Game Day from Methuen, I'm Butch Stearns. Back to you guys.
Butch, thank you. And our coverage of the Merrimack Valley tragedy will continue next at 6:30. A news conference is expected at any minute from Eversource. Our anchor Blair Miller is standing by for that to begin.
Also ahead, 25 Investigates looks into the gas company at the center of all of this. The new documents that shed light on Columbia Gas's previous issues. Plus,
an officer's home burned to the ground while he's out helping so many others affected by these gas explosions. How this community is stepping up to help this officer and his family.
And preventing another tragedy, how state police used infrared technology to detect another gas leak in the midst of the chaos last night. Our breaking news coverage will continue right after this break.